Ghosties, I have 4 stories to read today. Some are paranormal and some are just some freaky encounters. Here's all my social media. Go check it out. Subscribe to join my cemetery of ghosts. Comment and like to be entered to win my Boo Basket giveaway when I hit 1K. By the way, I picked up a kitty in between all this. So now we're recording with a kitty. I'm really appreciative of all you ghosties for watching these videos. Now let's get right into these stories. This first story is titled Sudden Activity in Home. And this one comes from Reddit user deemoolaa. Hi all, I'm looking for comfort or advice or anything, to be honest. I live in a home with my partner, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law. We have been renting this home for almost 1 year. We never felt or experienced anything in the home before this past week. September 12th, my mother-in-law travels to Mexico. She visits several places. I know for a fact she has dabbled in Santeria on her visits to Mexico, but not sure if she did this time. I don't know much about it besides she goes to see some witch doctor to ask questions. She came back September 20th. We didn't notice anything different until this past weekend, September 28th. This day, she gifted my partner and I a large blanket with an Aztec calendar, I think, on it. She claimed it was handmade in Oaxaca. It looks nice, so we placed it on our bed and used it for the night. This night that we slept with it, my partner and I both had horrible nightmares that we could recall perfectly. I discussed with my sister-in-law and she said she had nightmares too. I brush it off since I occasionally have nightmares, but I will admit this one felt very real and about demons possessing people. My partner did mention maybe it's the blanket, to which we both laughed it off and slept with it anyway. Nothing happened the night of September 29th. We slept regularly. September 30th, yesterday. We get ready for bed and finally go to sleep around midnight. I have a hard time falling asleep, but finally once I do, I have another nightmare. I couldn't recall what it was about, but I woke up. I kept my eyes closed so I could try to fall back asleep. Literally 20 to 30 seconds after I wake up, I hear a long creaking noise coming from the bathroom. My bathroom sink is connected to the bedroom but separated by a wall, so I can't see over there. It was also dark. I knew exactly what the sound was because I heard it many times. We have a mirrored cabinet and it creaks when open/closed. I immediately shake my partner and ask him if he heard that. He sleepily said yes and rolled over to go check what it was. He confirmed the mirror was wide open. It closes on a magnetic latch, but I checked this morning and you need a good amount of force to open it. It wouldn't just accidentally open. Also, once this mirror opens all the way like it will directly face another mirror in the sink area. I'm freaked out, but obviously it's 2:30 a.m. and we both work in the morning. So that leads us to today. I call my mother-in-law on my lunch to get her input. She tells me that since she got back from Mexico, she has felt a weird presence and has been having nightmares. She claimed she has felt something behind her watching her at times when she was home alone. We both agreed we haven't felt anything like this in the home before. But since she has gotten back from Mexico, something changed. The sister-in-law also said since September 28th she has not had good sleep and has been having nightmares as well. We're going to try praying and using sage on the house today. I can't tell if I'm overthinking or if this is actually scary. I couldn't think of any reason for this mirrored cabinet to open on its own seconds after I woke from a bad dream. But if you can help me rationalize, please do, because I am paranoid. That is so freaky. It just freaks me out when spirits move anything. The second story is titled Abandoned Club. This one is from Reddit user impossible_donut_229. So, I live in the city now, but when I was younger, I used to regularly visit my grandma's house with my dad. My cousins were almost always there too. We used to play together when I was little in that village, more like a smaller town. When me and my cousins went to play at the park, there was always this abandoned club nearby. It used to be popular back in the day, but now all the windows were broken. The door was made of glass and almost everything was vandalized, graffiti everywhere. I was always curious about what was inside, but I never had the guts to even ask my cousins to go in there. Even during the day, the club felt so off. I don't even know why. Maybe because it was surrounded by trees. It just had this weird vibe. When I was around 13 or 14, I don't remember exactly. I had a friend who was in the same grade as me, but he moved to another country. He would visit every summer, and every time he came back, he'd call me up. One summer, we were really bored, and the idea came up that we should finally go to that abandoned club. He was braver than me, so he said he'd go in first because there's no way I'd have the balls to go in first. Around 10 p.m., we arrived there with our bikes. It was pitch dark, with maybe 2 or 3 lampposts spaced far apart, so the lighting was really dim. When we stood in front of the club, it felt eerie. We spent the 20 minutes just trying to gather the courage to go in. Finally, we did. We climbed over the broken glass at the door and squeezed through. Once we were inside, we turned on our phone flashlights. The place was a complete mess. Garbage bags all over the walls, some needles on the ground, which was honestly really scary to see. And the whole interior was just weird. It was a pretty big space with this odd architecture path that led around in circles for no reason. Me and my friend were scared shitless. We tried to stay as quiet as possible so we wouldn't wake up some junkie or whatever else might have been living there. Then, while I was staring at the bar counter for like 5 seconds, my friend disappeared. Oh my god, my heart dropped. I did a full 360 with a flashlight and he was gone. I yelled his name and then something jumped on me from behind. It was him, laughing so hard while I was having a heart attack. I was so mad, but also super relieved. But while he was laughing, I suddenly heard another laugh. One that wasn't his. I'd actually heard it at first, but didn't fully register it until it clicked. That laugh wasn't supposed to be there. I turned my flashlight toward the sound and there was this guy, a hobo. I think tall, skinny, with long, messy hair. I couldn't even see his face properly. I screamed and bolted out of there with my friend. We jumped on our bikes and pedaled so hard back to my grandma's house. This was seriously one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. Later that night, when we finally talked about it, how did we not hear him? We were dead silent. Every step we made was so loud. So how the hell did he get that close without a sound? And the fact that he was laughing with us made it so scarier. He was probably insane or something. That one is so, creepy. Real people freak me out, so much more than spirits and anything. Real people, it's they're just unpredictable. And I know that spirits are unpredictable too. I'm so sleepy, guys. So let's get on to the third story. So this third story is titled A Huge Black Dog with Glowing Yellow Eyes That Vanished in Front of My Eyes. And this one comes from Reddit user afraid_selection 1438. Thank you so much for letting me read your story. For context, English isn't my first language and I live in Europe where this took place. This is going to be a bit long. I'm a female. This was in my early 20s and I went outside for a cigarette. It was completely dark outside, so it must have been quite late already. I was in too much shock after to check the time or anything like that. I can't even pinpoint the exact date except that it was summer. I lived on the ground floor and the apartment buildings formed a rectangular shape around a shared courtyard. In the center were long raised flower beds that stretched for the entire length of the building, separating the patios on one side from the opposite side. My patio faced those flower beds, near the bottom left corner of the short side of the rectangle. It was quiet and dark except for the light coming from my bedroom window and glass patio door. I can't recall any lights in neighbors' windows. While I was sitting there, I saw what looked like a large black dog on the far side of the flower beds. At first, I assumed someone was walking it, a neighbor. They were at the long opposite corner of me, walking along the flower beds. I thought it was unusual, but thought nothing of it. Just some guy walking his dog before bed. I couldn't really see anyone with it, but again, assumed it was just too dark to see. As it, the giant black dog, walked along the flower beds, I realized it was completely alone. It started heading in my direction. When it got closer, I could clearly see its eyes, glowing yellow, not just reflecting light, actually glowing. It was huge, silent, and the way it moved felt wrong somehow. Not that it was weird in any way, but calm and with purpose, I'd say. I froze when it came around the corner and continued coming. My heart was racing because I thought it was a real dog and that I was about to get attacked. I am not usually scared of dogs, but it was dark and it was just glaring at me. It was huge. It didn't run or change pace. My heart was in my throat and I was completely frozen. My back pressed up tight against the back of my patio sofa. But then, right as it stepped into the patch of light coming from my window and patio door, it vanished. Instantly. No sound, no blur, no running. Just gone. I just sat there still frozen in disbelief about what I just saw, staring at the spot where it walked up to, but now wasn't. I panicked and ran inside the apartment, shaking like crazy. I've told a few people this story, and each time I'm literally shaking. A couple of weeks after I saw it, my pet bunny died. I thought no more of it for a while because I was so sad over my pet. Then a few weeks later got a new kitten. I didn't link these two things to be anything relevant until I started Googling and found the Wikipedia page about black dogs or hellhounds. When things calmed down, reading about it didn't bring any closure because I've never spoken to anyone who's seen something similar or shares my experience. It just says it's folklore and didn't validate me enough. Even though it's pretty similar to my experience, that's the skeptic in me. Even now, I doubt myself, even though I know what I saw. One of my friends said I'm likely sensitive to things like that, and that's why I saw it. I've always had weirdly good intuition, and I do like paranormal stuff. I'm super into space and alien stuff, but I've never been a believer in anything particular when it comes to paranormal. I'm not special. Curious at best. Context: I've never seen anything remotely like it before or since. I've never hallucinated, taken drugs, didn't drink that night. I was not asleep or dreaming, nor having any mental crisis. Aside from chronic sleep paralysis, there is nothing unusual about me. Has anyone else ever experienced something like this? I either had some kind of one-time hallucination where my brain fully broke for a few minutes, or I saw something. Is there a logical explanation for this? I definitely have to do so much more research on paranormal stuff. I guess my brain's only ever justified spirits being a real thing. But I definitely think that if you looked into it and it had a similar definition, that is probably what it is. Because that is so crazy and scary, and I'm glad that you're okay. Okay, let's get into this last story, guys. This fourth story is titled, He Went in the House. This one comes from Reddit user real-ad-1114. This story happened a few years ago. In Portland, Oregon, I was a young waitress on my way to work. My husband was home sleeping in on his day off. I lived in a small duplex that shared a courtyard with another duplex. Our friends lived in units connected to ours, as well as the unit across the courtyard from them. When you leave the courtyard and walk down the driveway, about 2 cars length long. You're on the sidewalk of our short through street. When I back out of my parking spot and begin driving, I am in the center of the road. I drive to the end of the street, a T intersection, and then encounter a man riding a bike about to cross in front of me as he has the right of way. He's talking or making noise, carrying a bag to collect cans, and shaking an empty, crunched Red Bull can. He's shouting at me, asking for cans, waving the can for my attention. This is a common thing I've seen in my area, so I'm unfazed by this situation. I shake my head no, take my right turn, and head off to work. But I see him down my street after where I came, and something made me feel uneasy. He would have gone straight. He had already been going that way. I immediately pull out my phone to text my sleeping husband. My apologies for texting and driving. I wasn't on the main road and was going slow. I just briefly mention a strange man yelling and shaking a can at me, and to maybe keep an eye out, I put my phone away for the remainder of my drive to work, about 20 minutes. When I get to work and check my phone, I have a reply. A man just walked into the house. I instantly wanted to know what happened and if everything was okay. Like, what happened? What did you do? What did he do? So, as the story was told to me, my husband never got the warning text. But he did wake up to the door opening right after I left. He assumed I forgot something, but didn't hear any movement. He called out to me, no reply. He called again, nothing. He got up to see what was going on. What are you doing? He calmly asked the man standing inside the house with the door wide open. He said he didn't know why he asked so calmly because typically he would have fought a guy on the spot for something like this. Maybe he could tell something was off with the man. He wasn't a normal man, so he acted accordingly. Or he was still asleep. The man said something, but it's been years since this happened, and this part didn't actually happen to me. I don't know exactly his words, but he just didn't make much sense. And then he just said, cans, and started trying to get old soda cans off a side table left over from the day before, as if he was just casually helping us recycle. Get out of my house, he shouts to the man, and thinks that's when reality kicked in. He starts walking towards the man. The man backs out to leave and get away without a fight. The unit across the way from us was a man who was a live-in caretaker for an old lady, so he was always home and smoked often. He was coming out for a smoke and heard my husband saying, "Get out of my house." "That guy was in your house?" he asked. As he said that, our friend from the other unit had been hearing the commotion. He happens to be a very large, tall Navy veteran, holding a bat, who echoes loudly the question, "That guy was in your house?" and begins walking into the situation. Out of the house behind him is another man who asks, "That guy was in your house?" The chain reaction of people saying that guy was in your house was humorous, as if a cartoon, they said. Everyone was just shocked at the audacity of the strange man, including the man himself. He just got on his bike and rode off, never to be seen again. Seriously, though, the odds of this happening are so odd. The man did not see what driveway I pulled out of. He didn't even know if I had just left a house or just happened to be on the street. My house was exactly in the middle. Plus, when you walk up the driveway, you have 4 doors to choose from that all look alike. He just so happened to do all of that and pick the only unlocked door. It was a total fluke that the door was unlocked. I think we were waiting for a package that day, and just for some reason I thought that it was the right decision when quickly leaving the house. I know everyone around here lives with the doors locked. We typically did, but the one moment we didn't, it happened. So, to the can man, please, let's not meet. That is so weird. And again, people are like so crazy and creepy. And I'm definitely sleeping with my doors locked every night. Watch the vlog next Tuesday. It'll be a really fun, crazy one where we let our Discord control our lives for a day. So, it'll be a good one. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you are all having a wonderful November. The veil is super thin this month. Stay spooky, ghosties. Bye.